History has been made as the Senate passes the Genius Act, which is the Stablecoin Bill. It will now move to the House. I'll give you all the details. And Jpmorgan has launched a deposit token on Coinbase's Ethereum layer 2 called Base. This is incredible adoption news. I'll give you the details. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, what a historic day. The Senate has passed the Genius Act, which is Senator Hagerty's stablecoin bill. It will now move to the House for vote, and I anticipate it's going to go through the House very quickly. The House has actually been more easier to move crypto bills. Remember, they were the first to pass the FIT 21. They have the new version of the market structure bill called the Clarity Act. So things are going to move ahead. I'm going to try to get Congressman French Hill, who heads up the House Financial Services Committee, and to have him talk about, how fast this bill can get through the House. And of course, once it's passed through there, it's going to go to President Trump for signatures. And I think President Trump is going to sign that right away. So the Genius Act was passed with a 68-30 vote in the Senate. Incredible day. And remember, who's in the Senate? Elizabeth Warren and some other anti-crypto people, even though it's a lot less than it was 4 years ago. But, Elizabeth Warren has been trying to block it and stop it and putting out all kinds of nonsense on X and much more. But we know she's been lobbied by Jpmorgan and the big banks to do this because those folks are getting disrupted. The incumbents are getting disrupted. So really huge news here. Now, Dante Disparte of Circle, which issues the USDC stablecoin, of course, tweeted out his thoughts about this, saying the Senate's passage of the Genius Act marks a historic moment for the future of money. We commend senators on both sides of the aisle for working together to craft pragmatic, bipartisan legislation that supports innovation while protecting consumers and preserving the strength of the US dollar in the digital age. Since 2021, Senate and House committees have held extensive hearings and markups on stablecoin legislation, and the Genius Act is the product of those deliberations. We urge the House to act without delay and send this critical bill to the president's desk so it can become law. Folks, I think we're going to see this bill make it through the House very fast because, as we've been talking about on this podcast, there are geopolitical implications here for the US dollar. As we saw Senator Hagerty say on CNBC just about a few weeks ago, that stablecoin issuers will become the largest holders of US treasuries by 2030. Just think about that. Right now, other countries like Japan, China, and others have been buying the US debt. And of course, that helps the US with the US dollar, which is the world reserve currency. So if they don't have anyone to buy the debt, they're going to run into problems, right? Because this fiat system, they have to keep issuing debt. Now you have a brand new way for folks to do this, and you're going to have banks and different financial companies and even just smaller companies being able to issue stable coins. And of course, these stable coins will be distributed globally. So you see there's a whole new untapped market here, and those folks by the legislation are going to have to hold US treasuries. So I hope you see what's happening here to set up for the future of money and the US dollar continuing as the world reserve currency. So that's why there's a level of urgency here. It's not simply, we want to update payments and we want to embrace crypto. That is part of it. But make no mistake about it, the top priority is the US dollar dominance. And that's why you're seeing major Democrats and Republicans supporting this bill. And it made it through, and it's going to go to the House. And like I said, I'm going to try to get Congressman French Hill on to talk about this. So just a major historic day. And even Scott Bessent spoke about that today. He said, crypto stablecoins can lower government borrowing costs and reduce national debt. Here's a quote: "A thriving stablecoin ecosystem will drive demand from the private sector for U.S. treasuries, which back stablecoins. This newfound demand could lower government borrowing costs and help rein in the national debt." Now, it certainly can help in reducing the national debt. However, the fiat system, we know, guys, nothing stops the money printer, right? As Lynn Alden often says, nothing stops this train. They will have to keep printing. So by no means is this going to be like Doge and trying to cut spending. They can't. They can't. And what happens, the temptation, whoever's in office, Democrat or Republican, being so close to the money printer, the temptation to do that, it's human nature you're fighting here until we figure out something. Maybe eventually they move from this fiat system to something better because all the money will be digital. So we'll have to wait and see. But interesting statements here from Scott Bessent. Now, speaking of stablecoins, Alchemy Pay said, we're proud to partner with Ripple to power fiat on-ramps for RLUSD. Many of you know that's Ripple's stablecoin. It's issued on the XRP ledger as well as Ethereum. It says now available through your favorite local payment methods, and Alchemy Pay makes it accessible to 173 countries. So the infrastructure being built here for multiple stablecoins, not just RLUSD, but Tether, USDC, of course. There's PayPal's PYUSD. And as we've been reporting nonstop, just recently the Wall Street Journal said that Amazon and Walmart want to issue their own stablecoins. We've been hearing about Bank of America working on their own stablecoin. And of course, we're going to talk about Jpmorgan a bit later. But you see the direction the puck is heading, folks. This technology is here to stay. Blockchain rails will be used not just in stablecoins and payments, but how we transact, how the markets and economies and governments run. Everything will be on blockchain. This is the next layer on top of the internet. So we are here and we can take our bets, of course, on the tokens and of the blockchains that are getting adoption. Now, folks, quick word from our sponsor, and that is Trezor. Trezor makes beautiful hardware wallets that make it easy for you to safely store your crypto. Many of you know for years I've been preaching self-custody. Don't leave your crypto on exchanges. We've seen exchanges get hacked and you don't want to lose your funds. And, with a hardware wallet, you can store your private keys and sleep at night and don't have to worry about someone hacking it. Obviously, you can put that hardware wallet in a safety deposit box, in a safe, and of course, back up your private keys. So Trezor, they were the first ones to create hardware wallets. They started doing this in 2013. Their hardware wallets are open source and they support a variety of tokens. I'm talking Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, even new coins, everything that you can think about. And they have a great software called Trezor Suite that helps you to manage all of this. In addition, they have a hand-holding service to help you onboard and get your device set up so you can pay for a service to speak directly to a Trezor rep who can walk you through the whole process. And folks, I'm a user of the product. I use the Trezor Save 5. And if you use the code ThinkingCrypto, all one word, you can get a 5% off discount when buying a device. So if you'd like to learn more, please visit the links in the description. Now, folks, look at this incredible news. Jpmorgan has partnered with Coinbase to build on Coinbase's Ethereum Layer 2 platform called Base. This is just amazing, and it's also confirmation of what we've been talking about for a long time. Don't listen to Jamie Dimon. Watch what they do, not what they say. Jamie Dimon has been telling you this is all a scam while his bank continues to launch crypto products and build with the technology. So let me give you the details here. Coinbase, they tweeted out, welcome on chain, Jpmorgan. And they said Jpmorgan is bringing banking on chain. Connexus by Jpmorgan is launching the JPMD, a USD deposit token for institutional clients on Base. Yesterday, we talked about the trademark being filed for JPMD. So they moved pretty quickly here. It will be the first token of its kind on a public blockchain, enabling fast, secure 24/7 money movement between trusted parties. Now, see, folks, they had to go to a public blockchain because the private blockchains they tried to create, Quorum and even IBM tried to do this with Hyperledger. No one wants to use that because why would I trust your walled garden network where it's centralized and you can control it? Why the hell would I want to do business that way? I can go on a public blockchain, which is secure, has global distribution and more transparency, and it's decentralized. So notice the capitulation. That's the first major takeaway. Jpmorgan, the world's largest bank, capitulated to a public blockchain. And Base is, of course, an Ethereum layer 2. So if you hold ETH, you're benefiting from this adoption. So they continued here saying JPMD is a permissioned bank deposit token issued by Jpmorgan and will be available exclusively to approved institutional clients. Jpmorgan chose Base to take advantage of sub-second, sub-cent transaction for their clients, giving institutions access to near instant settlement and real-time liquidity. Moving money should take seconds, not days. Commercial banking is coming on chain. This is the benefit of the technology. If you are new to this whole asset class and technology, folks, and you're watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast platforms, this is your wake up moment. This is the benefit of this technology of blockchain, and why, even though people were saying this is all magic internet money and no one will ever use it and blah, 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 this right here, this major capitulation is your proof. The world's largest bank has to adopt and adapt to this technology, or they will have their blockbuster moment. And Coinbase Institutional added some additional information here, and I wanted to share that with you. So they said JPMD will enhance digital payments exclusively for institutions by making it faster and easier to move money. By leveraging a public blockchain, JPMD can offer an attractive alternative to stablecoins for clients seeking reliable liquidity and seamless integration with traditional banking systems. This move will help accelerate digital asset adoption by bringing trusted financial rails and more institutional capital on chain. Just incredible. Now, today I published my interview with Jesse Pollock, who heads up Base at Coinbase. And if you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. I published it on X as well as YouTube and as well as the podcast website. So I interviewed Jesse at the Coinbase State of Crypto Summit last week. So be sure to check that out, because we talk about the wallets and what's happening on Base. And it gives you some good context, given this Jpmorgan news. Now, speaking of Jpmorgan, and this goes back to what I said earlier, they're moving really fast here because they see disruption at their door. So they met with the SEC Crypto Task Force today. And Nate Geraci highlighted it. He said, guess what one of the topics was? Reviewing the potential impact of existing capital markets activity migrating to public blockchain. Oh, man. If you can't beat them, join them. And of course, talking about Jpmorgan and Jamie Dimon, they couldn't beat this technology or this asset class. And it's like we've talked about for years, folks. Many of you who have been listeners and followers of this podcast, you know what I'm talking about. First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. The past 4 years, Jamie Dimon and the banking industry lobbied Elizabeth Warren, drop the hammer, kill these crypto startups, because why? It's taking money out of our pockets. People are able to move money without us, and they're moving their investment capital to crypto assets. You think those banks are going to just sit by and watch this happen? Of course not. So they called up their buddies, as Tim Draper eloquently said to Gary Gensler years ago, and many of you may recall my interview with Tim Draper. It was foretold, like a prophecy, right? But this happens in other industries as well. The incumbents, they'll use their political power and they call up their buddies and try to attack the disruptors. But disruptive technology always wins. I've said that many times. So we are winning, folks. We're in the then you win phase. And if you are an early adopter and you bought the bloody bear market and the lows because you took the time to educate yourself, count yourself lucky and tap yourself on the back, because what an amazing opportunity. And to see we front ran these major banks is pretty incredible. Now, speaking of Coinbase, Coinbase is seeking approval from the SEC to offer blockchain-based stocks. So the tokenized stocks race is heating up, tokenized equities. We saw Kraken launch that. Robinhood is looking to launch that. So they're going to bring all the stock market assets on chain, folks. And real estate will be on chain. Gold will be on chain. All the assets. And you're going to see 24/7 trading, truly global markets. No more opening and closing bell. No more holidays and weekends and all that stuff. You're going to see massive liquidity come into this market because, as I've often said, there are a lot of people around the world that can't access the New York Stock Exchange. They can't buy Tesla stock as an example, but you put it on chain. You just need a smartphone and internet connection and you can access it. You can buy a fraction of it and much more. And plus you can then move the asset into lending and do DeFi. So it opens up new markets as well, secondary and tertiary markets. So folks, that's the news. Very bullish, historic. I hope you see what's happening. I hope the current price action is not making you feel bearish, because it's all market cycle. It's all cyclical. As I've been saying, we were in the overbought zone. We're now heading down to the oversold zone. Eventually, Bitcoin's just going to bottom out and start moving up again and headed to new all-time highs. And altcoins will follow. So just be patient. Patience is a big part of investing. You have to accept that. This is not going to the casino. This is not playing the lottery, folks. So you got to put some patience in. You got to educate yourself, right? You got to keep up with the news, and that's why you're tuned in, you're listening, you're watching this podcast. That's why you tune into the interviews as well, to keep up with what's happening and keep improving your knowledge around the market and the asset class, because it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to create some financial freedom, eliminate some debt from your life, and even boost your retirement, right? So that's the opportunity here. I'm not saying you're going to be a billionaire. I'm not saying you're going to be a multimillionaire. Maybe some of you, it just depends, your coins and so forth. But we are so early in this asset class, and these opportunities don't come along quite often. And, for the first time in history, you don't have to be accredited, and you front ran some of these major institutions. So it's just an incredible opportunity. I'm so thankful for it. And I've often said that, some of the profits I take from this market, I'm going to buy the blood on the street 2027, bottom of the bear market, prepare for the bull market in 2028 to 2030, rinse and repeat, just like we've seen in the previous cycles, folks. So let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. A great way you can support me in the podcast, if you appreciate this content, is by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It's 100% free on Substack. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital, and my course at mycryptocourse.com. This will help you to expand your crypto knowledge. Check it out. It's packed with a lot of value, video, text write-ups, downloadable materials, and much more. So you will hear from industry experts, CEOs, founders, institutional investors, and much more. So check it all out, guys. Links will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.